Just got a quick one for you today. The sound quality on this might sound a bit worse because I'm on my USB mic. I'm actually away from home at the moment on a bit of a work trip because we're expanding the business. And so I'm not using my normal microphone. And yeah, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but hopefully it's good. But I found a spare 10 minutes and I just wanted to jump on and talk about something that I think I've touched on before, but I haven't really gone too in depth with. And that is the principle of how you do one thing is how you do everything. You know, that may ring a bell. I've talked about that before. I just haven't really elaborated on it. But it's really become a much more important thing in my life recently when I've kind of taken a step back and thought about what I really want from life, what I want for myself, and as an extension of that, what I want for the business, because it all kind of flows through you. You are the business. And so everything that happens in your life kind of transpires into the business as well. So, you know, you've probably had days where everything just seems like it's going perfectly. And then for some reason, the next day, you just go straight back into a slump. You feel like everything that happened yesterday, the complete opposite is happening the next day. And the reason that happens is because on those days where you feel really good and you feel like you're in a peak state, it's because you're living in alignment with your values. And even if you don't have values, subconsciously you're doing things that are in alignment with the things that you want for yourself. So for people that have never, kind of stated their own values before, who have never worked through these things like myself, I've always been a big proponent for creating values and a mission and a vision for your business, but I've never stepped back and actually made these things for myself because it actually is, fundamentally more important as an individual to have these values set out for yourself. Because if you don't know why you're doing the things you're doing on a day-to-day basis and you don't know what you're doing them for, then you live life in a constant haze. You never know where you're going, you never know what you're doing, and you never know what you're doing it for. So more recently, I've kind of sat down and thought about what I really want and what I really value, what I really don't like that I do, the negative thoughts I have, negative things I do, and, also on the flip side, thinking about all the positive thoughts I have and the positive things I do that I want to reinforce. And I want you to understand that sometimes if you think something is negative, it can actually be positive, so like I go out a lot. It's something I've started doing more recently. I'll go out with friends on a Saturday night and drink and have fun. And a lot of people will tell me that's a negative thing. That's going to negatively impact your performance in the business. You shouldn't be out doing that on a weekend. You should just be working and focusing. So other people will try to tell you, external factors will try to tell you that that's a negative value. But think about how it makes you feel. Think about how it makes you perform. When I go out with friends, I feel great mentally. I feel like I have a lot more mental clarity. And then the next day, I feel good and I want to get straight back to work. Might not be the same for everyone, but for me, that's how it works. So, there's going to be things that you do which other people may deem, negative. But for you, it has a positive impact on your life. And so in actual fact, it is a positive, it's a positive thing that you're doing or a positive value that you need to reinforce. And then there's going to be things that you do that you just don't like. There's probably lots of things you do where maybe in the moment or the next day or even like a month later, you just look back on that and you're like, wow, I really regret that. I wish I never did that. I go through that all the time. I have thoughts all the time that I'm like, I just wish I could rewire my brain to not have these thoughts. Right? Do you kind of feel like that sometimes? Because that's normal. And it starts because you haven't set out these values for yourself. And when you start to live in alignment with your values, not only do these negative thoughts go away, but you're able to live life on the path that you set out for yourself. And you're able to experience more of these peak performance days, and you're able to feel better mentally, which then in turn makes you feel better physically. Because if we're not doing well mentally, we're not going to be doing well physically, and we're not going to be able to show up for our friends and our family and the business if we're not doing well physically or mentally. So what I want you to do is really just think about what things you value in life. Do you want to get closer with your family? Do you want to be more committed to your faith? Do you want to experience more things? Do you want to be more honest? Do you want to be more giving and compassionate? And then from there, work backwards and look at the things that you do day to day. Think about the thoughts that you have. Are they in alignment with these values you set out for yourself? Like in the business, everyone has core values in a business. It's just like the thing to do. But no one has a core value for themselves. Businesses, their core values are like, commitment, teamwork, accountability. And then when you have these core values, you understand how you work around them, right? Like in our business, our core values, our business is built upon that. And our staff work in accordance with those values. And so imagine what you could do if you did that for yourself. You carried that same principle over. And, going back to that concept of how you do one thing is how you do everything. This is a big indicator that you're not living in alignment. If you do things where, you look at one area of your life and you look at another and then another, and they all seem linked. For example, I used to make my bed every day, and I was really organized, really disciplined. I was going to the gym every day. My car was clean. My house was always organized. And then I kind of stopped doing it. I would make my bed once every 2 days or every 3 days. And then eventually I wouldn't make my bed at all for a couple of weeks. And then when I took a closer look at the rest of my life, my car began to become a mess. My house was never organized. I would go shopping and just leave it on the bench for days. Dishes would start to pile up. And before I knew it, I was really stressed because clutter stresses me out. The feeling of not being organized or being disorganized stresses me out. And so I was living life in constant stress and anxiety that I had brought upon myself because I broke these habits. And it took a really long time for me to go back and rework on these things, think about my values, and then start from the beginning and just build lots of small habits that then transformed into bigger habits and kind of transcended into other areas of my life. I'm back to making my bed every day. I'm back to every time I eat food, I clean that plate and I clean the knife and fork straight away. I put it straight in the dish rack. I go to the gym every day again. Every week in the business, I've got a to-do list that I'm following. And now that I'm doing these things, because I realize what I value, one of the big things I value is consistency and organization. Once I consciously realized this, because I've been doing it subconsciously for a long time, I just haven't realized it. But once I said it consciously and I told myself I was going to follow this new regime I've set out for myself, I feel so much better mentally and physically. I have so much more mental energy, and that's translating into a lot of physical energy. So I'm getting a lot more done, and I have a lot more focus, and I have a lot more clarity, a much clearer vision for the future. And it's all started from simple things like making my bed, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I want you to look at areas of your life where you're just not happy, or maybe take a look at your life as a whole. Think about what causes you stress and anxiety. Maybe it's mainly in the business. Maybe it's stuff to do with family. But then look at other areas that you kind of think, well, these could be linked. Maybe I'm out of alignment here. Maybe I'm disorganized here. And then I want you to set out some values for yourself. Think about the things that you really value in life. For me, organization was a massive one. If I'm not organized, I am chaos. I'm an absolute mess, right? Internally and externally, I'm unorganized. And it's not good for me mentally or physically. And therefore, I cannot show up in my business and be a good role model and a good director. So you should think about these things and then start to work backwards, reverse engineer your values and reverse engineer the things that you do day to day, and begin to live more in alignment with that. For you, it could just be as simple as what I did. Just build some good habits again and consciously stick to them. instead of just creating habits because they're good, like, oh yeah, make your bed every day because it's the right thing to do. Make your bed because if you're not organized, you're going to be stressed and anxious 24/7 like I am, right? You start to realize why you're doing these things. And if you want to do things like go on a trip once a quarter, that could be something you value. You can just add that into your new regimen. And so you start to build up this lifestyle for yourself, and you build this new paradigm that is focused around or centered around these new values that you've set out for yourself. You start to live a life of definitive purpose, and you start to really know where you're going. You start to really know what you're doing it for, and you have a clear action plan for what you want to do. Like before, I thought I had it figured out, but I really didn't. And I was just going around aimlessly. My relationships with like family, friends, like my ex-girlfriend, things were just all out of alignment. And now that I've kind of got these things under control, I feel so much better. And I'm able to help other people with it now because I've realized like the thing is just ticked in my brain. So yeah, it's a really big thing. And I really do believe that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So step one, bring yourself into alignment and create some values for yourself. Think about what you really like doing. Think about the things that you do subconsciously that you regret or you don't like. Like for me, I would do things and then the next day I would just be like, I wish I didn't do that. I had role models I would look up to, like my dad and like my business mentor. I'm like, they wouldn't do this. I want to be more like these people. So it's almost like creating this ideal version of yourself. Like I always do this. I always almost clone myself and, give my clone all these traits, all these characteristics, and I try to be like him because that's the person I'm trying to become. It's not some alien. It's not some completely different person. It's someone that I want to become in the future and be more like. So step one, set out those values for yourself so you can start to bring yourself more in alignment with them. Step two, start creating some smaller habits. Start to work backwards. Think about all the areas of your life where you need to bring yourself into alignment and create an action plan for doing so. And step three, I guess, would just be to make that your new life. Make that your new identity. Make that clone of yourself and work towards being that person. Because we're not just human beings, right? We're human becomings. We're always becoming someone new. You're not the same person you were a year ago or 2 years ago, and certainly not 10 years ago. So instead of just letting life happen, like how the last, 5 years kind of just happened, let's be more in control of the next 5 years. Let's create the person we want to be. And let's do that with definitive purpose. Let's do it with a clear vision, and let's do it with a clear action plan. And it all starts with setting out those values for yourself. A lot of people do it in business, but not enough people do it in their personal lives. And I was guilty of that. I put so much focus on the business and I forgot to realize that, I was at the center of the business, and the business to an extent revolves around me. And it's going to be the same for you. So once you bring yourself into alignment, once you kind of sort your own life out, for lack of a better word, the business, just by proxy, is going to do a lot better because it's all going to flow through you. And your friends and family are going to love you much more because you're going to be a much happier person to be around. You're going to lift the room up whenever you walk into it. You're going to have an abundance of energy because you just know exactly what you're doing, and you know exactly how you want to live. So that's all I wanted to talk about. I've got to go in a couple minutes and do an interview because we're just flat out. We're hiring so many people that I've jumped in and I've started doing interviews. Like our VA, Stacey, we're all just doing interviews. It's just crazy at the moment. I think we've hired 10 people in the last 3 weeks. So yeah, crazy. But that's what we want. These are good problems to have. We've got bad problems and we've got good problems. Growing at a rapid pace is a good problem, as long as you've hopefully got it under control. So Booked Out Cleaners is going well. I thought I'd maybe just give an update on that. We've got about 55 members. Great feedback. People are loving it. and we've got a few courses out already. So if you're still on the fence about that, now is a really good time to join, because the price is about to go up considerably more, because we're about to launch some brand new courses. So now is a really good time to get in if you were looking. And if you want to join, the link is bookedoutcleaners.com.au/join, or you can head to the link in my bio on TikTok or Instagram and join through that. So, and I hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Mrs. Muscle and Kings and Megan from Valley to Beach. That was a really fun episode, because we're all just a bunch of friends, and we said some crazy stuff during that. It was definitely an unhinged kind of episode. So, I'm happy with how it turned out. It was funny, and it was just really a conversation between friends. We just started talking, and at some point I turned the microphone on and we just went at it. So yeah, those guys are like my best friends in the cleaning world. I just love them so much, and they're all doing great. That's something I'm really proud of them for that. They're all on great paths, and they're all really good people with great intentions. And that's the sort of people you want to surround yourself with. You want to surround yourself with people who are going to bring you more abundance and not going to drag you down, because there's a lot of people in this world who don't live a life of definitive purpose and just going to drag you down onto their level, which you don't want to do. So yeah, it's been a nice couple of weeks. We're getting really busy. Business is going well, and I'm just thankful for the life that I have. Very, very grateful. So yeah, I will talk to you in the next episode of Self-Made, and I hope you're having a great day or night wherever you are. And just remember, bring yourself into alignment, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So start to design the life that you really want for yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. And take control of the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of your life, because otherwise it's just going to happen, and then you're going to look back and you're going to have regrets, and nobody likes regret. So that's all I thought I'd leave with you today. I'm running out of time, so I've got to head off now, but thanks for listening to another episode. We'll see you next time.